So around the end of the 90s, I got pretty big into two things: Attitude Era Wrestling and Pokemon. Pretty similar, I know. So I was a pretty big Pokemark. I watched the cartoon, had my copy of Red, and I collected Pokemon cards. So at the height of Pokemania came the Pokemon trading card game. This was also during the time that absolutely everything was getting a collectible card game made of it. And the company responsible for that boom was the original publishers of the cards over here, which was the Wizards of the Coast. And the game they created this boom with was, of course, Magic the Gathering, which I was also into for like a week or two until I sold them all for a nice little profit. But I still got my Pokemon cards because, well, I liked them better, and I usually saved most things around this point. I even ended up with this store display for the theme decks, and I believe that was because my mom bought me some of these for a present once, and because she bought the last ones, they just gave this to her. I might be making that up. These theme decks were centered around two different types, with the water and fighting one being called Blackout, and the electric and psychic one being called Zap. But I guess water type and grass type were the favorite, as they got featured on two of these things, with the water and grass one being called Overgrowth and the fire and grass one being called Brushfire. No love to the poor normal types. These theme decks were a good way of getting certain holo cards you needed. And of course, there was also the regular starter deck. And these decks came with a first edition holographic Machamp! So, of course, absolutely everyone had one of those. And then, of course, you had the regular booster packs of cards, which in the base set showed pictures of Venusaur, Blastoise, and Charizard. And I also have the wrapper for one pack from Fossil, which features Zapdos. I love some of the really helpful information they show on the back of this stand. Hey, did you know you need Pokemon cards to play Pokemon cards? I guess they didn't actually give you a play mat back at this point, just had Professor Oak telling you, hey, this is what it should look like, do it. To play, you'd also need these coins, or any coin really, to do the coin flip directions on some cards. These featured Chansey on them because chance. Clever. You also needed these damage counters, which I apparently have 4 unopened bags of still. Can you tell I was more into collecting these than playing the game? I can't believe I had a collector's mentality about these cards. So the majority of my collection of the Pokemon cards is a complete set of the original base set. And I do have the Japanese version of Alakazam, because someone gave me that at one point. I always found it kind of interesting that the design of the hollow background on these two was different. And of course, this shows how different the card backs are with the Pocket Monsters version versus the Pokemon ones. I remember that Blastoise and Charizard were a couple of the last ones I needed to complete this set. And unfortunately, the Charizard I have is the one with the shadow, so it's not the super rare, costs $1 million, or like 300 version. As mentioned briefly earlier, during the Wizards of the Coast version of the Pokemon trading card game, you could get certain cards with a first edition logo on them, which were rarer. Well, except really in Machamp's case here. Also, in the starter decks, Machamp came in his own little plastic covering, so I left that on him. And then we have our second page of all holo cards. Well, except for that damn Beedrill who always ruins everything. I never really understood why the first Mewtwo card sucked so much, considering he was the most overpowered Pokemon in that first game. After I'd gotten Blastoise and Charizard, I remember Raichu here was the absolute last card I needed to complete this set, and I ended up trading my friend Thomas to get him for some double of a holo I had. Also, this Zapdos here is something I actually pulled from my first pack of Pokemon cards, so I always liked this one. Then you have your non-holo rares. The way they set the set up is you'd have your best cards at the start, and then it gets worse as you go along. And if you didn't know, with Pokemon cards, they indicate their rarity with a little symbol in the bottom right corner, with a star for rare, a diamond for uncommon, and a circle for common. One of the kind of odd things I found with the base set was they didn't let you finish certain evolution chains, like you could only get to Pidgeotto and Dragonair. I guess it was probably done just to let you know that more were coming, and that they would never stop. I found it rather amusing too that Magikarp was uncommon when that certainly wasn't the case in the game. It was always neat with the Pokemon cards, all the different types of artwork you would find on them. And you would see things with Pokemon that you might not normally. Like this depiction of Diglett that makes it actually look furry. I also just like a lot of the older Pokemon drawings like this. Especially when the Pokemon has changed quite a bit over the years due to becoming the mascot or something, and Pikachu slimmed down quite a bit from his early days. Then you had other kind of odd things like Starmie and Staryu both being common, apparently. And then we get to the trainer cards, and it's kind of funny how many of these were labeled rare, which was 11 of these things apparently. Man, did you ever fight the super rare lass in the game? But of course the standout for me in the trainer cards was Imposter Professor Oak. I really wish this had happened at some point. Also, de-evolution spray, something else that would be kinda nice. And stupid old regular Professor Oak, who likes him when you have an imposter around? Even these trainer cards were pretty neat at the time because they're the first good look at a lot of the items in the game. And again, some of these things' designs changed quite a bit. So here's the last of the trainer cards, and now we get to what people really want to see. The energy cards! So rare! Or they're too common even for the common marker, whatever. But hey, I can still impress you with my Black Diamond Pokemon cards, right? You know what those are, don't ya? So I didn't collect as much after the base set, but there was one Pokemon that wasn't included in the base set that I really wanted the card of. And that was of course Meowth. Why? Because Meowth's my favorite Pokemon. He was my favorite character in the anime, and payday! That makes you money. It makes it the best move ever. That made me also have to pick up this Meowth Holo card, just because there was a Meowth Holo card, so I wanted it. And here I have the Meowth from Jungle and Team Rocket. And I even have a first edition of Jungle Meowth. Ooh. And same for slightly slimmed down Jungle Pikachu. Well, there was a part of me that still wanted to keep collecting these to get all the original 151 Pokemon. I just didn't really keep up with them. But he still did get a few neat ones after. This even more slimmed down Pikachu was the card I got for going to see Pokemon the first movie. And this Dragonite is the card my sister got, and then she gave to me when she lost interest. And then there's this version of Promo Mewtwo, which was inserted with the VHS release of the first movie. And here's of course one of the most different Pokemon cards ever released, Ancient Mew. These were given out when you went to go see the second Pokemon movie, so this one was just given to me by my sister, I believe, because I did not go see the second movie. Then I got a couple holos from the Fossils set, Kabutops and Gengar, and a holo from the Rocket set, Dark Blastoise. But he is definitely not darker than my Bladidoise that the Hall of Fame called my Blastoise after I caught missing no. Then I got a couple repeats and non-holo Zapdos from Fossil. When he's less special, it seems kind of weird they put him on the package of that one. And a few more from Rocket, Fossil, and Jungle. And Regular! Now here's some of the only ones I have from base set 2, which I have no idea where the hell they came from anymore. But it is kind of interesting to see how much more yellow the base set 2 version of the card is. And speaking of color difference, there's a big one between the English version of Professor Oak and the Japanese one. The card got a much higher contrast on the English version compared to the Japanese one. they included a fossil in the fossil set. Well, I never. And here's Chaos D1's Nightmare, poor Jigglypuff getting sent to the recycling. This card's kind of amazing because that's just ridiculously depressing if you think about it. Don't worry, Jigglypuff, you'll live on in base set 2. Some more stinking old fossils, including the best Slowpoke ever. Now, here's some things that I don't really know the legitimacy of, which are the Pokemon card stickers. These were hollow all over versions of the Japanese cards, but they're slightly smaller than legit Pokemon or Pocket Monster cards, and as you can see, the backs of them weren't always the best quality. So maybe these strange things should have been shown on Bootleg Zones. However, that is what I'm going to show you guys next time on Bootleg Zones, actual bootleg Pokemon cards. Look at this Oddish. Since when are they all green like that? And some of these kind of get a little scary, like Magnemite here. It's lost the pupil of its eye, so it looks like it's either dead or possessed. You even had these shiny stickers of energies. I know everyone just wants to stick energies everywhere. And in the little packs I used to pick up the sticker versions of the cards, they'd also have these type as well. These ones definitely seem more legit than the trading card stickers. These ones actually being marked by Bandai. These could have been sold together out of sticker machines. I don't know for sure. It just seems that the trading card versions are a bit lazier. Plus, with these ones, you can read up on what happened in the anime. Especially, whatever that was all about. A lot of these type stickers, though, just seem to feature Pikachu with another Pokemon by him. And even when it features a couple that aren't Pikachu, you still got a little Pikachu and a Pokeball logo in the corner. I like some of the ones like this, though, that just have random hearts and stars going around the Pokemon and balls. And if you didn't think the hearts and stars were weird enough, then you got Graveler next to some ones with strange faces drawn on them, and the star is apparently dead. And we'll end this on the 3 starters: Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Mew! So that's my Pokemon card / weird stickers collection. I like the design of the older cards much more than the newer ones, and earlier artwork for games has always been more intriguing to me. You'd see stuff like earlier designs that have since changed, or they'd have the Pokemon doing things that they absolutely wouldn't think of having them do these days. You can definitely see the Magic the Gathering influence on how the game is actually played, with putting energy on your creatures which allows them to perform certain attacks, but the shiny Pokemon wrapper on this game has managed to keep it going forever. 6. Well, the fact they ever made stickers of these cards is pretty weird and tells you how popular these things were. You've got stuff like weird designs for some of the Pokemon, and some even show some strange anime things like Team Rocket here in navy and red uniforms instead of their usual white and gray. 3. They've gotten a bit more elaborate with their packages for these cards now, coming with stuff like oversized versions, figurines, and stuff like that, but there'll always be something neat about the beginning stuff with pretty much any series. 7. And the MMZ overall is 8! Since my friends and I were really into these things at the time the base set was released, they have some serious nostalgia value for me. And it was a fun enough challenge trying to get the whole set of these cards without being too ridiculous. Kinda like catching all 151 versus catching all number never stops increasing. Wait, is Mew white or pink? It's like Kirby, can't fucking decide what color he is.